Claudia. Hey, Jennifer.
Hello. I have barking dogs in the house, so I'm going to stay muted for a while. Yeah. I'm upstairs now.
Nice.
Look, different view, Perry. Look.
Say,
No sleeping
I have
dog.
the other night I was on the Dutchess County School Board thing, and I had this light here set, and then the sun went down outside the windows, and everything behind me looked solid black. It looked like some kind of Stephen King freak show or something. So I figured I'd do it again.
Hey, welcome, Chris.
Ready to call it to order. So we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance.
Hello.
Pledge allegiance
So,
to the flag,
To the
the
flag,
United States of America,
America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is administer the oath for Mr. Rosenbergen. And so you should have that in front of you. And if you could just read that for us.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education of the Millbrook Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. And I just want to note that Mr. Rosenbergen will come into the district clerk's office to sign and have that notarized in person.
Hey, welcome to the board, Chris.
Thank you.
All right, we got a bunch of stuff you got to start working on. So.
And Mr. Shapiro, could you do the same, please?
Let me see if I can pull it up without signing out. Right. Shrink you. Well, I guess I signed out.
Now we can hear you.
Okay, as long as you can hear me. Okay,
Yep.
I'm almost there. Let me find the actual thing. Oath of office. All right, let me open it. Remember, I'm a dinosaur. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of a member of the Board of Education of the Millbrook Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Thank you. And also note that Mr. Shapiro will come into the district clerk's office to sign in person as well.
Welcome back, Howard.
Thank you.
Okay.
Come on.
And now we'll take nominations for president of the board. So if anybody has a nomination,
I'll nominate Perry.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Howard, did you say you would second?
Yes, I'm trying to get back to the photos of the meeting.
Are there any other nominations? Okay, we'll take a vote. We'll go around the screen. So Paul,
Yes.
Chris? Did you answer, Chris?
Yes.
John?
You're muted,
You're
John.
muted, John.
I'm muted now. Yes.
Thank you. Howard
Yes.
and Jennifer
Yes.
and Claudia.
Yes.
Harry?
Yeah.
No, it's
Yes.
iffy.
Yes. 50-50.
Okay. And you should have
Oh yeah.
an
Hang
email
on.
with the oath for president.
Yeah. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of President of the Board of Education of the Millbrook Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Okay, and note that the president of the board will come into the district clerk's office to sign in person. Okay, and now I hand it over to the president and he'll take nominations for the vice president.
Yeah. Do we have a nomination for the vice president?
I nominate Howard.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
Let's go back around. Paul,
Yes.
Chris,
Yes.
Howard, Howard,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Claudia,
Yes.
Jennifer.
Yes.
I vote yes as well.
Okay.
Very good.
And Howard, you should have an email for that oath as well.
Okay, hold on.
There's an attachment in the bottom of it, Howard.
Okay, I see it. I just have to get to it. Oh, now the shortcut. Okay. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of Vice President of the Board of Education of the Millbrook Central School District according to the best of my ability.
Okay, and also note that the vice president will come into the office of the district clerk to sign in person.
Yes.
Okay,
All right. So now we go down, sort of down the list of committees and subcommittees that we need representatives on. First one on the list is the Dutchess County School Board Association. I'm currently the rep on that, but I would like to get somebody as a backup, because it's, especially, you know, that first meeting, usually there's an agenda meeting for us, excuse me, in the afternoon, and then that meeting is that night, and sometimes it just doesn't work. So I would like to keep doing it, but I'll just throw that out there.
Harry, I'd be happy to be a backup. I prefer somebody else to do it because it's good experience to network with folks, but I'd be happy to be a backup.
Okay. Yeah, no, I agree with you, John. I mean, you get to meet not just, you know, board members, but you meet people that do maintenance. You meet, once a year, you get exposed to, they do an entire meeting on negotiations. This past year, which was kind of strange, was originally focused on sustainability within the school districts. Then it became, of course, focused on COVID and what's the government, you know, what's the state doing. But it is a great place to get experience, especially get exposure to who's who in the county. So anyone else willing to do that? It's the first Thursday of every month, 7 o'clock at BOCES. On
Or via
Saltport.
Zoom. Or via Zoom.
Yeah, that's true. Right now it's via Zoom. Anyone else? Okay, John, you and me. All right, the next one is the PTO liaison. This one we have to fill because Tom has been doing that. Tom Lemke was our representative, I want to say, well, I think before I even joined the board. So we need somebody to really, and a lot of times there's not much, and then, you know, there's maybe a month where there's some real stuff to deal with. It's not really a matter of going to the PTO meetings as much as it is at least, you know, interacting with the president of the PTO and then bringing that back to us so that we know what they're doing and if they need help and if they can provide help. Just, guys might want to check your mute buttons.
How often are the PTO meetings? Like, do you know when they are, or are they kind of like randomly scheduled?
I think you can just schedule a meeting with like the president of the PTO and say, what's been going on, what's happening. I don't think, and John, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think Tom actually went to PTO meetings.
Yeah, there's possibly minutes produced also.
Yeah. So it's kind of, this is more of someone that can provide like the liaison between the PTO and the board.
I can give it a shot.
All right. That's Jen. All right. Facilities committee. I think, honestly, I think this is going to be a very important committee for us. God only knows what we're going to have to do in our facilities, how things are going to change. But we need to make sure that we've got people that are engaged. And that also means that we're having regular, quarterly, whatever the right number is, and I'll leave that to the committee meetings, not just, a once a year meeting. So today it's Jen, Claudia, and John.
I'll continue.
Okay.
Yeah, I can continue.
Okay.
And I would say the same also, unless somebody else wants to do it.
I don't
Okay.
mind doing it if you want. If you'd rather take a break, I don't mind doing that.
Okay, yep, I'll get off.
All right. Good.
Barry, can we name a chairperson? Because I think it's really important that we have a chairperson that leads this thing and not wait for things to happen.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Jen and Claudia, you guys have been on this, what? Claudia, have you been on it 2 years?
1.
And Jen, you?
Yeah, like, a little less
Just a
than
year.
I've only been on the board a year.
Okay. Yeah.
You think we need someone a little more?
Well, somebody that, so it's not just, divide and conquer, somebody that to make sure that the meetings are taking place, make sure that the district side of it or the school side of it is as committed to it as we are. So I think, Claudia, you probably got the most seniority on this. Do you mind doing the chairperson role?
Sure.
Okay.
But can I have a co-chair, Jen?
Now you guys are sure,
I'll be the cheerleader.
but vice chair.
Nah, co-chair.
Vice chair.
Let's see. Policy committee. Again, this is one that's been, I think, and I'll let John talk to it, but this is one that really needs people that are paying attention to, especially now with all the changes that could come out from the state on things like things that were sort of no-nos in the past, like distance learning. This could become even more important. So I'd like to get, John, I don't know if, I hope you're willing to stay on as the rep.
Yes.
But I think we need someone else that can commit to the policies. Howard, is this something that you think you could do?
Yeah, I can go on the committee.
Okay. All right. So now, John, do you want to? You're currently the chair, right, John?
Yeah,
Would you mind keeping that
Yeah.
going?
I'd be happy to do that. Yep, we're moving forward right now.
Okay. All right. All right. The audit committee, oops. Let's just do this tonight. The audit committee is me, Jen, Tom. I think they sent this to you instead of Tom. Is that right, Howard?
I don't know
Or
why. Yeah, they sent, I don't know if anybody else got this letter from the auditor that I mentioned in my email. But yes, I did receive one.
Okay. Yeah, I got mine and filled it out, mailed it back. But we do need somebody, and this is really, what is this? Once a school year. So we do need somebody to take Tom's place. Paul, can you work on the audit committee? Paul or Chris?
Yeah, I'd rather stay on safety and stay on SLT and curriculum and stuff like that I've been on. I'm not really, I don't like the numbers piece. I don't, unless I have to do it. I prefer not.
Chris?
I don't mind doing it, Perry. I will.
Okay. Thanks, Chris. All right. And I mean, I don't know if it has to be, but I think the president's always been the chair, so I'll keep doing that. And Jen, you okay with staying on that?
Yep.
Okay. The legislative liaison. What does this, I mean, have we actually, has this person had to be engaged? I mean, right now, I don't even know, if you could possibly engage enough with the legislature.
It's about bringing issues to the board or bringing news to the board of what's happening out there, to state things, how we're affected, so it's keeping up on news. It's,
Yep.
If the board wants to move forward with some sort of resolution at NISBA, we never have, we could. It's also, well, it could be about the voting thing, the resolutions also. Although
We could also,
a separate person do that.
yeah, we could
But
also,
it's also, if there's big issues that we need help from our elected representatives, it's the person to coordinate that and meet with people, have us, maybe some of us come up, meet. So it's a lot of possibilities.
I think that this year, one of the things that we need to do is they have that, I believe they still have that meeting. I don't know what happened to it with COVID, but the meeting with the local representatives. And I think whoever's on this committee should be connected into that. We haven't done it in the past, but I think we need to.
The Dutchess County School Board Association has a once a year meeting up in Albany. They brief people like on a Sunday afternoon about the issues, about kind of talking points, and then a group of people kind of go in and see different representatives, senators, and assembly persons.
Yeah, I mean, it's they also have that breakfast, or it was a breakfast. I don't know if I think they've.
No, they didn't do that last year. I'm not sure. I doubt they're going to do it this year again.
No. All right, so we have.
But it's, attending something like that, right?
No. So we have Paul is the rep right now, with Howard as the alternate. Are we good that way?
I guess so.
Paul, you okay with that?
Well, you're muted.
Yeah, hold on. Yes, I'm good with that. I'll keep that same one.
Okay. All right, District Data Committee. This is one that I think we usually have. We have two people on this, but
What's the job description for this, Perry? What is it about?
well, I mean, it sort of, I think it has morphed in the last couple of years because the original purpose when Kathy was here, I think was really going through, what's the structure of the data and all that. John or Paul, do you guys want to talk about what that committee's been doing?
Well,
And
we
about
met,
how often they meet?
yeah, we met once, only once last year, and Paul couldn't make that one. I was surprised to find out it's about it's about how data informs instruction, and basically some of the ways that the teachers exchange ideas between buildings even. That's what I was led through, and it was pretty informative. I'm not sure where it was going to go, but you're right, it did morph. It used to be more of a how do we use academic data or data to inform the board, but it's now about kind of looking at how within the district the staff use information.
Remember when a few years ago we had a lot of issues. I know we still have issues with data, and it's capitalized in one and not in the other, and the state changes something and it screws everything up. But I don't think we're having as many issues. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm just not hearing it. I think it's more about, how are we using this stuff? And what are we doing with it? And is it, do they need improvements in it? So John, Paul, do you guys want to keep doing this, or? I mean, I'd like to make sure that we have some continuity.
I would rather step away from that. I think it's good for somebody to kind of see how things work within our district, how the teachers kind of, I think it'd be good for somebody else. Claudia, you mentioned about being closer to that end of the thing.
Yeah,
right?
is Elliot's going to be part of this too then, right? How much would Elliot be involved in this?
I don't know.
Anyone?
I would assume. I mean, data doesn't happen without technology, but
To tell you the truth, maybe we want to rethink that. Maybe we want to have a committee that, what do we want out of it, perhaps?
So this committee is about how the teachers communicate to each other? Like, I don't.
That's the gist of what I got last year. Yes, it's how
It's
they
not
use.
how it's not how the data is gathered. It's how the teachers
No.
talk to each other. It can't be right.
Well, it's not just talk. I mean, it's how do they, when a student leaves Elm and goes to Alden, how does the data travel with that student? Is it consistent? It was supposed to be more about data consistency and the analytics behind it, not necessarily the gathering of it, like how many times they have tests and are we what are we collecting as far as I don't know, detentions and that kind of stuff. It's not intended to be that, but to really to figure out, is there more, and maybe this should be more, not just district data, but district technology.
Can I speak to the data committee?
Sure.
So it was using the DataWise protocol to unpack multiple different types of data, assessments, different types, sources of data, to sort of triangulate and look at the power standards that needed to be addressed to create opportunities for school improvement. So yes, it was using the same protocol between buildings, so that there was a K-12 consistency being built over time. So there was communication of protocols and systems for consistency. So there was communication happening. And there was also definitely communication when there were identified standards that needed to be worked on. Because if there were students that had been sent from 5th into 6th grade, as example, or 2nd into 3rd grade, those students had gone. So if the 2nd grade teachers had identified by analyzing last year's data, but those students had moved on, they needed to let Alden know, or they needed to let the middle school know, for example, what those students had a gap in. So that not only were they addressing it within their current curriculum, but they were also addressing it for students who had gone on and had a gap in their learning. So there was communication between teachers, but it was also informative, not just for their current instruction, but also for the students who had moved on and how they would be instructed in the current year. So there was data for instructional practices, absolutely, but that same data could be very informative district-wide. So instead of looking at individual students, we were looking across and being able to make curricular and instructional decisions using that data. So it wasn't about individual students necessarily. It was for articulation purposes in terms of how we would transform our instructional practices to really achieve overall success for all of our students.
I mean, I think the original purpose behind this, as John and I've said, has morphed, because originally it was the data is a mess. You can't look from here to here. We run reports, but the reports don't really tell us anything, because by the time we run them, there was a lot of, they were almost a combination of data and analytical issues. And now I think this committee is or the people that are working on this committee are more about, sort of the tactical education aspects, which I'm not sure. I mean, it's interesting. And it would be interesting for the board to, gain some feedback, but I don't know what we're getting out of having 2 or 3 people on a data committee, just sort of listening to, how they're using data from school to school. I think, if maybe we could turn this into something that's more, maybe it's a district technology committee that looks at not just data, but can also look at issues from the state, can look at issues with physical technology, not necessarily just data and reports.
So Perry,
don't
can I
know.
can I ask a few questions?
Mhm.
So
And
Caroline,
there is a district technology committee already as well,
Mhm.
in addition to this. So we can,
But not
choose
for
to
us.
right. So we can choose to do whichever you want. I just don't think that we had a clearly articulated focus that was given to us.
Mhm.
So I apologize if we
No,
missed what was wanted of us.
no, I think, I mean, the whole sort of my point is, I think there's been a lot of improvement, and what we had originally set out to do sort of isn't as necessary as we once felt it was. But Claudia, go ahead.
no, the question I was going to ask is Caroline, who's on this committee? Like, is it teachers that are on this? Like, what this committee was? And is this the same, is this the data that was, this is not the data that was collected when in the beginning of the year when we were seeing the green and the red, where children were. It is the same.
I
No,
think so.
no.
That's not the data that we're talking about,
So
Caroline?
there's
No.
multiple layers of data. That's some of it, because that's like daily in the class, not daily, but like that's like ongoing in the classroom, but they're also using like state test scores. So it's layers to be able to triangulate and not just use one piece of data to determine whether or not this student truly is struggling. We're able to look at multiple different pieces of data to be able to look at students and then to be able to look like across the cohort, because you can look at one student and get one picture, but if you don't look across the cohort, you're not really looking at the macro data to be able to make an instructional decision. So you have to look at a student to be able to get a picture of where that student's strengths and weaknesses are, but you have to be able to look across students to be able to look at where the instructional and curricular strengths and weaknesses are. And then when you have all of that data, you're able to make a decision about where you need to make shifts within your teaching practices to be able to change the data picture, right? Like you don't want, if you notice that standard 3.1, right, was really underserved last year, you don't want to make that same mistake. If you notice that, you don't want to repeat that, right? So you want to make a shift there. The only way to do that is to be able to look across the cohort of students.
So Caroline, the data that's collected, is this something that, is this something that Diane Morey, like, is this something like, well, now it's Elliot, but is this something that Elliot collects? Is this gathered, like, is this what he would do? Because that's where it's like, is he going to be, like, how, Perry, what we're saying, this data committee, to me, it sounds like maybe it should be morphed into one. I mean, I could be totally wrong, but it should be morphed into one.
Yeah.
Well, remember, there's their committee, and then there's the liaisons from the board to that committee. So this district data team, what we're trying to sort of figure out is, do we need a rep on the district data team? I'm not saying, no, I don't think anybody thinks that data committee needs to go away. It's, should we have someone on that? Should we have somebody connected more to the technology? How do we, and maybe what we need to do is just take this one offline for now and come back to it, like have a discussion specifically on what do we want from it, from a board of ed?
I agree. I think we should look at it, maybe going with the technology committee, but let's just move on to the other ones.
If I may interject, I really think the board does need some summative tools to see where we are as a district, and not overall district, but by buildings. We don't really have any tool for high school. We have used the the 3 through 8. We talked about internal Ames Web. We have never put together. We've never gotten a really concise reports that we were happy with, and I think that's what needs work. I think we should be focused on academics, and we don't have a good way to focus on it.
Perry, I'll do it. I'll figure it out with whomever it is. I'll go on it. We'll figure it out.
John, you want to stay? Oh, hang on a minute. I'm lost. There we go. John, do you want to stay on that?
The charge is to figure out what the committee should be.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'd like to have happen is, it's probably more about what gets reported back to us in what form, and can it be decomposed. But
the state changes their reports every 3 years or so, and they say you can't look at the old stuff. So it's like we got to punt. We got to do our own thing. I mean, we can't wait for the state to get their act together.
Right. All right. So John, you, Claudia, Paul, you want to stay on that?
Oh, you're muted.
No, not really. I'm okay. I'm good.
All right. All right. So John,
All right.
Claudia.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Chairperson and members of the board serve as reps to the Food Services Committee. And the point of this committee will be to try to drill down on just overall food services, the budgeting, all that stuff, right?
I'd like to be on it.
Well, Howard, would you mind acting as the chairperson on that one?
Of course not.
All right. Let's see. Do we have? Trying to think who else. I should have been keeping track of these so I can see who's doing what. I'm trying to think. Well, Howard.
I'll volunteer for that.
Okay.
Thank
All
you,
right.
John.
All right. Safety committee.
I'll do that again, Perry.
Okay. I mean, one of the things that I want to make sure is that these committees are, you know, working on you know, a prioritized list, on sort of meeting on a regular basis. I know this past year just, you know, dynamited everything, but yeah, we really need to, you know, if we're going to go after these, you do that whole video part, and then what's next after that. So, and Howard, do you want to act as an alternate, or you want me to?
Is anybody else would like to act as an alternate?
I will.
Without.
I will.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah,
thank you,
Claudia backed me up last year on that, so it was good.
Thank you.
All right. District leadership team. So what does the district leadership team entail?
It's the shared decision-making team for the district.
You know, one of the things that, I guess I should have said it before you guys voted, but one of the things I want to change this year is, you know, I know we've kind of been back and forth on board goals and district goals. We have to get some specific goals in mind that are moving the district forward. I know it's going to be like nearly impossible because every day we're going to get quote unquote guidance, but you know, I want to set some goals for this district, whether they're 5 years out, 10 years out, but goals that put the district in a better place, not just for academics, but for the district, for the health of the district, sustainability of the district, our taxpayers. We really have to start, you know, putting some measurements or you know, a 30% reduction in this, a 10% improvement in that. So I'd like to see this district leadership team, you know, maybe on a quarterly basis. And I'm not saying that this district leadership team is going to build our board goals or our district goals, but we got to figure out how we're going to get that done and get it done relatively quickly, so that when things return to normal, we've got sort of normal marching orders in place. So Paul, I think this committee is going to need, you know, is going to be a very important one moving forward. So you cool with doing this again?
Yeah.
All right. NISBA annual meeting. So before we do that piece, actually we can come back to it, but we need one person and a backup to do the voting. You know, we, as a district, we have one person that represents us. That was Howard. Howard, you still okay with that?
I'm happy to be a delegate.
All right. And do we need a backup?
I think that you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be happy to do it for my last time.
Okay, John. All
I
right.
love it.
Yeah, nice.
Unless you want to be the delegate, John, for your last time.
I don't have to go that.
Yeah, because you know, this year you'll be able to travel to glorious Zoom on your laptop, probably.
Yeah.
All right. All right, that's it. So now we move to the consent agenda. Everybody have had a chance to go through these. There's just, you know, a crap load of, and that's a technical term, of educational appointments. You know, like I said, there's a bunch of them, and does anybody have anything before we like discuss them? Does anybody have anything they want pulled?
We do a motion first, Perry.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I'll second.
Second.
Second?
Second from John.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so anything anyone wants pulled. So Chris, just so you know, these consent agendas, they're usually stuff that, you know, like appointment of the tax collector, appointment of the district clerk. They're just stuff that we have to do, you know, like there's a regular consent agenda every time. And by approving the consent agenda, you're basically just approving all of these items. But if someone wants one pulled, this is when we, you know, we'll take it off the consent agenda, handle it as a separate motion. All right. If there's nothing else, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Anyone on mute? Okay. Let's see, gotta keep going, keep going, keep going. All right, nope, we're still going. Okay, food service reporting discussion, number under H in the old business. Somebody.
Are you calling for a motion? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm just, I see this on the agenda. I thought somebody was going to present something. I know a couple of things were sent in the email. I mean, my feedback is pretty much the same as it was last time. I see the comparison. I see the actuals versus revenue versus spending. I see that, you know, the sort of actual versus the plan. What I still don't understand, and I don't want to spend a ton of time tonight, and maybe this is part of this food service committee, is, you know, if this year we planned for 30,000 of something, $30,000 of one thing, and it came out to $45,000. Why? How did we miss that? And how do we seem to miss it every year? Because, you know, it's not like we had, you know, 2 years in a row that were even money, and then we had one where we needed to go, you know, where like we just completely went out of the box. I want to understand, how is the initial plan built? So what assumptions go into it? What analysis goes in? Do we run, you know, the last 5 years of you know, the different aspects of it to see, geez, there's a trend towards, you know, every year we increase by 3% the number of people that don't pay their bill, or you know, I just hear a lot of stuff that I think we should be able to do a better job of estimating. So at the end of the year, you know, now again, as I said before, if hamburger goes from well, that doesn't count because most we get a bunch of it donated, but if propane goes to, you know, 8 times the cost that we thought it was going to, then that's understandable. That's, you know, in this section of the food services budget, it broke. And next year, hopefully we'll do a better job of looking at the price of propane and planning better for it. I just, you know, if we keep doing the same thing over and over and over, and we're not really getting any better, then something's wrong. So, you know, my take on it is, we got a couple, I think everybody on the board got a couple of documents that Brian prepared on, you know, actual versus estimated. You know, I think we need to take a look at those, but then I think we need to have, you know, a real discussion on, so we're establishing the budget for 2021. How did we improve that process? How did we resolve that process? Even from the, I know there's, you know, some of this stuff is set for us, like the amount you can charge for the meal is some weird formula, but did we properly estimate even that, you know, or is there something that we're just missing? We're not looking at the last 5 years, or we're not looking at specific accounts to try to figure out which ones are, you know, trending up, trending down. You know, statistically, are we going to, you know, where does this, we should be able to, after all these years, be able to model this. But I think that, and I'll open this up for, you know, anyone else that wants to discuss it. I think this needs to be the, you know, the beginning of this food service committee. We need to basically take that thing apart from day one of planning for the 2021 year, 2020, 2021 years. And, you know, and again, I know we don't even know if we're, you know, we're not sure if we're sending the kids back. So what are we planning on? But when things return to some semblance of normal, we have to be able to do a better job. So any comments from board members, from anybody?
I'll say that we had a presentation in February of 2016. I don't know if there was one later than that. I have a copy of the presentation. It's very good. It talks about the factors that influence the revenues and factors that affect the expenditures. I would imagine probably all, if not most of them, are relevant every year. But I could circulate that with the board if I'd like to find the other presentation if there was one sooner. I couldn't find it in any of the minutes.
I don't think there was.
So that was 4.5 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, and that's kind of my problem with it, John, is it's the same factors every year. So shouldn't we be able to look at those factors and say, well, this factor A goes up by 2% every year?
But the factors are against any kind of breaking even or profit.
Oh, I mean, but if we plan on, you know, if we know at the beginning of the year we're gonna go over by, I know the number came out differently, but we were talking about $45,000. If we know at the beginning of the year it's going to be 45 grand because.
Yeah, I think some estimating can be done. Some planning could be done, sure. And probably there is. So we'll be seeing that.
Okay. Anybody else?
I just had and I don't know like what percentage this is, but you know, like the kids who, you know, like the accounts where they're not getting paid, for, you know, or maybe the kids are kind of eating and the parents aren't paying for that. Is there a way to, and that could fluctuate, I don't know, but is there a way, and maybe you do already budget somehow for, you know, like you're going to budget for a loss there, or like, and I know that's only one portion of it. So, you know, if we weren't doing it before, we should do it now. Maybe we were actually doing it, but you know, that's a tough one to address and control with parents, you know?
But again, you should know at the beginning of the year that between 6 and 14% of our parents don't pay their bill. You know, I mean, over the last 5 years, you know, 8% of the parents on average don't cover whatever, and then factor that into the plan you develop. Then, I mean, it's not, the thing is, it's not like we can change the outcome, right? I mean, we can't not feed the kids, and you know, because the parents didn't pay. We can't go demand, payments. So there's a lot of stuff that we, can't do anything about. This is more about having good, clean analytics and metrics that say, here's where you're going to be. We set a budget in July of 2020, and here's where it's going to, here's our estimate of where it's going to be in 2020, July or June of 2021. Okay.
Harry, is this the charge of the food service committee?
I think that's a good place for them to get started.
Yeah.
Is,
okay.
what's wrong here, and get whoever the right people are in a room and figure out, is there something we can do differently? Or, also look at other options, look at other districts. See if we can talk to people that come out better or closer than we do.
Well, to tell you the truth, I'd like, just to me, if you've got to sink $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year into a service, I think we just need a standard. The board needs to be apprised once, twice a year. I don't know what it is, just of what's going on, where's it heading, and every year. That's just the way it's got to be. We're spending money on something, we should be apprised of that. It's a losing thing. We just should be automatically apprised of things.
Well, and I honestly, I don't like the fact that we have to go to another account and say, oh, here's the rest of the money for the cafeteria. I mean, it should be built in, even if it's going to show a loss, should be built into their budgeting. And then at the end of the year, if we still blew it, or hopefully we didn't blow it as bad, but if we still went, a couple $1,000s over, okay. I mean, as long as we understand how that happened, what went wrong, all those good things. And I think, this food services committee is going to need to meet, at least for a while, pretty regularly, until we get a set of metrics and so that then they can come back quarterly to the board and say, here's where we are. This is what we told you we were going to do this year. It's the end of the, July, August, September. Here's where we are. In October, November, December, January 1st, here's where we are and why. All right. Why does this keep going to the dictionary? All right, district calendar. Oh, there we go.
Perry, sorry. Some of the stuff that we did for the consent approval items, I don't know if it matters, but Karen Ferguson is still named in some of this stuff.
She's meant to be.
Oh, she is? Okay.
She's not done until July 31st. So when we hire a new person, we'll appoint them to those.
Oh, okay.
spots.
Okay.
Okay.
If I wanted to mention in the consent, we tried to put some descriptors in there and sort of where they came from, so that they're just not so seemingly like an isolated list of designations and responsibilities. And I have to say that I dove deep. We both, Cheryl and I, dove deep into the policy book. And I have to say the work that has been done in policy is very impressive. Very easy to read, accessible, clear. So kudos to John, Cheryl, and Tom for all that good work. And then over time, we'll keep populating these so that every year we'll have these descriptors, and it's not a guessing game. You'll just have this information ready for your own use and resource.
Yeah, we have there's a motion later in the meeting to make John the perpetual policy member. So no matter where you go and what you do,
you better make your budget real big.
We'll cover your salary as a board historian.
Any comments on the calendar? Do we have a motion to accept the calendar?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have
Second,
a second?
second.
Any discussion? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, this isn't impacted by any of the days from last year, right? We didn't have to do anything weird.
No, it's very traditional and a very non-traditional world, right?
You're
breaking up,
kind of-
Laura.
It's meeting mandates. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a very traditional and a non-traditional calendar in a very non-traditional world right now.
Mhm.
But it's in compliance with what we need to do.
Okay. All right. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any
All right.
any against? All right. Yeah. The next is to approve the scholarship fund being set up in the name of Matt Martell. I mean, our sympathies go out to Matt's family. Just hard to believe, but do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Any discussion?
Terry, do you mind if I just mention something here? We didn't have a dollar amount on here because this was done really quickly, so that we could it was really important to the family to do it quickly. But as of yesterday, we have received, I believe it's $2,500 so far to go towards that scholarship. So I just want to put that out there and say, it's really amazing how quickly people did that. So
I know my kids, well, everybody knows that. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against?
Aye.
Any against? Okay. All right. The president's report. I mean, really, the couple of things. I want us to focus on some measurable and targeted improvements. I'll call them reductions, improvements, optimizations. Things that put specific targets, like reducing our fuel oil by 10%, and I'm making these up, so don't anybody get cranked up about, but reducing our reliance on non-renewable sourced energy. Just in general, how are we going to move this district forward in a lot of different ways? And some of these need to be targets for the next 5 years that we actually go and can hold up as reasons why Millbrook is different and better than other districts in the area. I also I don't know if you guys read the NYSBA, I can never remember the name of the NYSBA newspaper, but I at the Dutchess County School Board Association, I said, we need to send a message back to NYSBA. That article that came out that said they like us, they really, really like us. I get they were trying to sort of joke around with the Sally Field thing, but that's not the way I took that vote. I took that vote to mean, yeah, we had almost 1,000 people vote yes, but we had over 500 people vote no. And we know that the people that came out at the firehouse told us to get moving and, keep it as it is and all that. But I think that in my mind, there's some messages in there. And to put out an article that says, they like us, they really, really like us, I just thought it was a ridiculous thing to do. And I think we as a board need to not be not be so confident about what that vote meant. So anyway, I think that's it. Howard, you got anything?
I'd just like to thank the board for their faith in electing myself as well as Perry and for another year, you know, and trying to navigate through this today's messy world. And then hopefully we'll be able to keep moving forward properly. Thank you.
Thanks, Howard. And hey, actually, maybe you'll talk about it, Laura, in the superintendent's report. This the shutdown of the athletic fields. Are you going to touch on that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Laura.
And I can do that. Thank you. I can do that one first. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. The athletic field complex, we recently received recommendations from the New York State Public High Schools Athletic Association, and then we followed up with legal, and it informed our decision to fully close our athletic complex. We noticed that there was an increase of activity, larger team activity, larger gatherings activity among the singleton walkers around the track as well. And so we are just not able to enforce with fidelity the supervision and sanitation, cleaning needed to keep everyone healthy and safe. So we made the hard decision to close the complex completely until further notice. So we have, it should be posted, if not already, on our website. I wanted to say it publicly here at the board meeting, and just say we are saddened by this right now, and hopefully this too shall pass. But right now we think it's the right decision for health and safety reasons.
So, and where did that come from, Laura?
That's the New York State Public High Schools Athletic Association. So embedded in their new recommendations was what piece of, if you cannot enforce supervision and sanitation, then you should be closing your grounds and your fields. And then we followed up again with legal. We spoke to Julie.
Okay.
So I just wanted to.
Did you have a question, John?
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
We've done that for all our all the playgrounds.
All the playgrounds have signs, they're closed. And actually, people have been minding the signs and staying safe and off of them. So thank you for asking.
But the other ones, Alden Elm, those were up all along, right?
They have signs on them saying that.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, they've been closed. And people have been minding the signs, and we appreciate that.
But the athletic fields, that's a new call from
That's a new call.
somebody.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead,
So,
Laura.
I know last time we spoke and we were about to embark on our reentry planning with all of our subcommittees. So I just wanted to provide the board with an overview as well as the public, so they know that what we've been working on. So we began, this is our second week of work. As mentioned at our last board meeting, Elliot, Caroline, Brian, and I attended responsive planning trainings, and that was facilitated by Education Elements. And we used our new learnings to develop a strategic, collaborative, and transparent reentry planning structure. And the structure includes a core team, and that is Elliot, Caroline, Brian, and myself. And we coordinate, synthesize, analyze, answer questions, control the flow of information and communication. We research answers for questions that the subcommittees pose to us. We make the final decisions and we make recommendations to the board. So I just wanted to give you sort of what our roles and responsibilities are as a core team. Then we have the reentry team, and that includes the core team, the 4 of us, plus our 3 principals, Mike Ragusa, Debbie and Karen from First Student, and Holly from Food Services. And then all of these members, they are co-facilitators of the subcommittees. They schedule meetings, facilitate conversations, they document the data collected, and they come back and share their findings with the reentry team and the core team. And those sort of inform our next steps as well as the drafting of our reentry plan. We have 6 subcommittees. There's teaching and learning, special education and PPS, athletics and extracurricular activities, social emotional, food services, and transportation. Each committee, like I said, is co-facilitated by members of the reentry team. Transportation is co-facilitated by Brian and Debbie and Karen from First Student. Food services is Brian and Holly. Teaching and learning is Elliot and myself. Special education and PPS is Caroline, and she has her assistant Paige working with her. Athletics and extracurricular activities is Rick and Caroline. And social emotional is Steve and Caroline. We have 1 to 2 parents per subcommittee, and they were invited by a survey. We sent out a survey regarding transportation and just sort of getting our finger on the pulse of how people are feeling about returning to school. And we embedded that survey question if you want to be involved in subcommittees. So we invited a few, and then we also have board members on there. All of the co-facilitators will try to attend all of many of the subcommittee meetings when they can, putting their finger on what's
We're
going
losing
on
you,
in the
Laura.
subcommittees to inform. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
We
it
hear you
sounds like,
now.
You
yeah,
can
you're
hear me
getting
now?
like some kind of feedback.
Back up a few sentences.
Let's see. 1 to 2 parents per subcommittee. Did you hear that? Okay, they were identified by a survey. And then we
Yeah.
have co-facilitators, as mentioned before, and they try to attend the other subcommittees to participate in the work and discussions, as well as sort of keep their finger on the pulse of the subcommittees so that they can go back and inform their discussions and work in their own targeted subcommittees. Let's see. All teams are meeting once per week for the month of July. Our goal is to have a strong reentry plan by July 31st, draft reentry plan by July 31st. We are planning for our 2021 school year to start on September 9th. We use it we know we're in a sprint mode. This is not a marathon. We need to move fast, but always with intentionality. Our subcommittees meetings, they include an overview of the purpose, goals, team structures, and how we'll work together. Members of each subcommittee collaboratively are working on 3 plans or 3 scenarios, 100% in the building, 100% remote, and then various hybrids of which populations throughout the district will come to school and who will stay home. We're still sort of trying to drill down which hybrids make sense for us. What are the ones that we can do to provide the best education for our kids? We work on collaborative templates that share our ideas and concerns, and knowing that we have some knowns, we have some known unknowns, and then we have a lot of unknown unknowns. And as the state and state ed provide guidelines, some of our unknowns will become knowns or unknown knowns. Figure that one out. And then there'll always be a continuous flow of communication between all of these groups of people, the core to the reentry to the subcommittee, and then it'll flow back again, just making sure that we're cohesive. I do want to remind you around the subcommittee support system. I'm sorry, I've skipped that. That's our subcommittee support, our facilities, technology, health and safety and security, public relations and communication, and staffing. They're supporting all of the subcommittees. This structure promotes and supports cohesiveness across the subcommittees. Many decisions cannot be made without them and their input. Having them separated out into their own subcommittees did not make sense to us. It would be too isolating. So they will ebb and flow through all of the subcommittees. They'll either show up because they can and they're interested in what's going on at that moment, or we'll be asking them for their expertise and input when we're struggling with a question or an idea. And I think, lastly, I wanted to say to board members who are able to help with this process, thank you for your membership. Your presence, it adds, and your input adds a layer of value and importance to the work that we're doing, and we really appreciate you being there. John Rudy, you're on food services. Jennifer, you're on transportation. Claudia, teaching and learning, and Paul, athletics and extracurriculars. So I truly feel that we have representative from all throughout the community. Your insight is greatly appreciated. And I think we're well on our way in coming up with a strong reentry plan, no matter what is thrown at us. So I thank everybody for their contributions. I wanted to talk about summer school here at Millbrook. Did anybody have any questions about reentry planning?
I do, Laura. Sorry, I was just going to ask you if I could say something. I really enjoy being on it. I love listening to what the teachers have to say, their input. I thought it was great. But the one thing that I did notice, and I think we need to have another subcommittee from just listening to the different teachers from K through 5, and then you go on to the middle school and the high school. I think with the reentry, just listening to them, the reentry from the K through 5 is very, very different than what you're going to see from the middle school to the high school. So I think there should be 2 different entry plans for those guys. I don't think you can warp those guys into one unit. Again, just listening to them, what they're, you know, I mean, from Elm having, you know, the same bathrooms as another classroom, sharing things, you know, the whole, the Chromebooks, teachers, you know, what they're all doing. It just seemed to be very, very different than from K through 5 and then the middle school to the high school. I think they just need to be separated. And that's my opinion. I just want to put it out there.
I think you're right. I think it'll be, I think it naturally happened anyway, that we'll probably just keep that subcommittee, but they'll have breakout rooms and work on their specific concerns or ideas as well.
Right, but as far as, you know, again, I think I don't know how much it could be narrowed down to or how it'll work, but I think also just as far as like what school will look like I don't think it can be, you know, it can't be every other day or, you know, 2 hours and 2 hours this and 2 hours that. Like, that's what I mean. Like, is that how that will go? I mean, is that something that can be done? I mean, it just sounded like what they do in the middle school and high school with the kids is so much different than the little ones. I mean, it's like night and day.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll continue that conversation. You're absolutely right. Thank you.
I still can't imagine how, I mean, nothing seems to have really changed at all from the public standpoint. You know, the more people sort of give into it and stop wearing masks and you know, we can't stop the kids from bringing cell phones into the school. We're going to keep them 6 feet apart and keep masks on them.
Well, Perry, that's what they're saying. If they do 50%, you know, like I said, the 50% from the little guys and girls all the way up to the high school is very different in the, I guess, in a reentry sense.
I mean, my thing is, I just don't know how the heck we're going to do it, but that's, you know, we'll be told how to do it, I'm sure. All right. Anything else for?
I have a couple of things, but I'm very proud of the work that has been accomplished. There were great ideas that were shared. We've created these safe spaces where any idea is welcome. We're just sort of throwing a lot of ideas on the wall and see what sticks. But I see slowly that, or actually quickly in our, that there's a lot of connectiveness and there are a lot of things that we can do to ensure that we have the best education that we can for our kids, that we're being intentional and thoughtful and strategic, and we're making sure that all the moving parts are going to work together in a harmonious manner. We know that when we talk about the 3 scenarios, all in, all out, and somewhere in between, we'll be working through a continuum, quite honestly. So there'll be grays of hybrid and grays of all in and grays of all out. But this is just where we're going to start. And then as we get more information, we'll be able to adjust. But I think we're in a very good position right now. I think we're ahead of other districts, quite honestly, in just of our team structure and the product that we have produced so far. And the conversations we're having, we're becoming a stronger community pedagogically, as well as just as a community of thinkers in what our kids need now and for the future. So I think we've made great gains. But
have we gotten even a rough order of magnitude if we're going to need to make investments in this? You know, like true distance learning classrooms. I don't know. I don't know where else you might have to. But have we, even things like putting a monitor on the buses, you know, have we gotten to the point of having an idea of what that investment looks like? Even, you know, is it bigger than a bread box?
Probably.
Yeah, okay. I should know better than to ask the superintendent if she ever needs money.
We're drilling down, so we'll have more concrete answers and ideas and a plan soon. So I'll have answers for you soon.
One other thing that I talked about was, you know, like what are other schools doing? Like, is it something that we could ask other school districts, you know, what is your reentry plan? Because they may have something that we didn't think of, or we have something that they didn't think of, because we're all part of the same county. We're all here. So yeah, so today I was actually speaking to one of the physicians, and they have a plan, which I mean, I'm not going to get into it here, but they have an absolute. They're working on a plan like we are, and he started naming off some of the stuff, and I was like, whoa, some of that's great. You know, I didn't think I heard some of it, but I mean, just listening to other school districts and what they're doing, that maybe there is like a guideline that we could put out, that we could share with Spackenkill, Rhinebeck, Red Hook, and then so on, and they could do the same thing. Like, this is what they're planning to do. And then, like I said, maybe we could have something that, you know, could be just a general, hey, this is the website that we can all share.
Mhm.
Just a thought.
The biggest concern in Dutchess
Can I just
County.
comment on,
Yeah.
can I
Go ahead,
comment on that,
Paul.
Per? I just want to comment. I just want to say, the model that I think we were trained in and what we're using, you know, a lot of the stuff we seem to be ahead of, and I'm affiliating with a lot of districts in Westchester, of where people are right now. They're a school district that haven't even had their committees meet yet. So whatever model it is, it's probably a good idea, but people are going to be doing, like, you know, former safety companies like Alteris that we used to use has a safety reentry plan. And if you want to use their format, you could go with them and use that. So you're going to see a lot of different probably proposals or plans to be used. But in the long run, it's going to be a lot of the same resources, but no matter what, it's going to be done before even Cuomo announces whether we're open or not. There's going to be a lot of change and flux to it anyway. And I think that's going to be a time where, I'm not going to speak for Laura, where she may call the superintendents and say, what are you guys doing to zig or zag here? But as far as the plan goes, I just think we are like, and I got to commend you guys, really in a good place where other districts haven't even gotten off the ground yet and have their committees going, from what I see around the county and in Westchester too. So I just wanted to comment on that, Laura.
The biggest concern at Dutchess County School Board meeting last Thursday is that we're going to build all these plans, and then August 23rd, Cuomo's going to come out and say, no, this is the way you're going to do it. You're going to put them
Well,
half.
that's where I think a lot of the sharing, you're exactly right, Perry. And that is going to happen. And that's the way that, you know, we all, but I'm saying at that point, I think that's where it's going to be, where some of the committee information or whatever Laura within her own superintendent's group starts sharing, you know, and Laura, you can speak to that. I don't want to speak for you, but I imagine that's a place where you guys would get together as well, right?
Yeah, we have we have weekly meetings, and we talk about what are you doing and what are you doing and what's your idea. Reentry plans seem fairly similar. They're not crazy different, but they're tailored around specific districts' needs and their students' needs and the personnel that they have and the budget they have. So to your point, right, Claudia, it's important to see what the other districts are doing because we can learn from them. And then I know that the directors of technology are getting together and they're having conversations about what remote will look like, if it's 100% either way or a hybrid. I know that the business officials are meeting, special ed, directors of special ed are meeting. So all of these groups are meeting, gathering that information and bringing it back to inform these subcommittee, core team, and reentry conversations as well. And I thought it was maybe a nice opportunity for boards to start talking amongst board members to start talking amongst each other. And what are your concerns? What are your recommendations? What are your thoughts? What are other boards thinking? I don't know if that can be facilitated in any way, but I thought it's a great opportunity just to connect.
Okay.
Any other questions?
If I could bring up, yes, not to raise anybody's stress, but I could have sworn I heard our governor call for plans to be submitted to SED on July 15th.
Yes, and there was a follow-up by NISBA that it was a mistake. I believe.
Sorry.
I think they sent up a follow-up apologizing.
That was a mistake.
Yes.
Good to know.
But there was word on the street for a while that July 13th was going to be a day where we had to upload our plans into the portal, the business portal. And then that was changed or ignored or avoided or never spoken about. So
I think we were also supposed to have all board meetings being face-to-face starting on July 6th, but that got moved out yesterday, I think.
correct.
The day before.
Yes.
Because he's all about giving us notice.
Yeah.
Anyway, go ahead, Laura.
I have a quick question. Laura, did you say in that survey that we asked some parents if they wanted to be on the subcommittees?
If they would be interested in
Oh.
being on a subcommittee. And so folks submitted their names and their interest. And we asked them, we invited 1 to 2 parents for each subcommittee to make sure that we had a parent view.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know if any of them had like taken you up on that and if they did come.
Yeah, there were plenty
Okay.
of interest, so that was nice.
Good. I think that's important to get the view, you know, because you might have people in a room that don't have kids in the school district or something. I think that's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah. So 3 items. Summer school, Governor Andrew Cuomo issued an executive order that permits schools to teach special education in person this summer. So that was a surprise. The order reads, notwithstanding any prior executive order to the contrary, special education services and instruction required under federal, state, or local laws, rules, or regulations may be provided in person for the summer term in school districts. Any district providing such services in person must follow state and federal guidance. So 2020 summer school here at Millbrook, the location is in middle school. We have about 24 students. The dates are from July 6th, correct me if I'm wrong with anything, Caroline, to August 14th. Times are 8:40 to 11:50. Our educators are Leslie Anson, Devin Agnew, Colleen Wilbur, Danielle Tokars, Lauren Kelly, and Jennifer Oberzak. Also, Caroline has been teaching as well. We're providing academic services to students with disabilities in areas of mathematics, reading, and writing. This is a skill-based program available to students with an individualized education plan attending the Millbrook Central School District. Related services is the extended year to students with disabilities in the area, with related services, occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, or related services counseling. The schedule for related services is dependent upon the individual therapist. That therapist will reach out and schedule appointments. And we did remind families about wearing masks, maintaining social distance on transportation and in the classrooms. Desks have been arranged accordingly, and our teachers have been equipped with personal protective equipment. I know that in the classrooms, teachers are having conversations with students. They're explaining why they're socially distanced, why they're wearing masks, when they should be wearing masks. So there's a whole different kind of training and teaching going on as well, not only about mathematics, reading, and writing, but just about the new world that we live in. And we have identified that in many of our subcommittees that there has to be some intentional teaching about how do we keep each other safe and healthy in our new normal. And I wanted to thank Caroline for your hard work in getting this program up and running. It's just a well-oiled machine. There were nice baskets with lots of supplies waiting for kids with their names on them, and a welcome poster in the front of the building. And all of those touches are super special and memorable and make kids feel valued and important. So thank you, Caroline. As you know, Karen Ferguson is retiring. Our last day is at the end of July. So we have posted this position. It's now on OLAS. And you can also go to our website and see the posting of who we're looking for to fill this position. The deadline to submit applications, July 17th. When I went into OLAS about an hour or 2 ago, we posted yesterday, and we already have about 16 applicants. So that's nice. And I'm imagining it will grow over time. And Caroline, Brian, and myself will be meeting this week to just draft out an interview process, multi-tiered, rigorous, making sure that we get the best person here for our kids and for each other. Any questions?
Do we have and not for right now and not for discussion right now, but do we have a, I'll call it an org chart, for want of a better term, that says, you know, the person that we think we're getting or we want to get would be here. This person would move over here. This person would do this for, you know, for whatever. Do we have, is that something you could take us through? Not again, not here, but at some point.
Yeah, we'll have these discussions along with the interview process and hopefully come back to the board with some ideas.
Okay.
Right now it's posted as an elementary principal position. And then lastly, we shouted out high school graduation. We shouted out the middle school drive-through moving up ceremony. So we must shout out, of course, to Tom Litka and his team, who also hosted a drive-through moving up ceremony for our 5th graders. Families entered the Alden campus in their cars. Graduates were cheered by their staff as they made their way through the parking lot to the entrance, where they were greeted and honored by staff. And Tom, who shared encouraging words and accomplishments for each graduate. So every time a graduate pulled up with his or her family, he had very specific words that pertain to that student, whether it was accomplishments or just being a kind person or community minded. So there was a lot of time spent in writing that script. And I think that just speaks words or volumes about how special Alden is and how special this district is. It's, again, it's those little moves that people make that make a world of difference. So thank you to Tom and his team.
Lost you there.
That's all I have to report.
Okay. All right.
Wait, Perry, I have a question.
Nope, too late.
No, wait, no, it's
Don't be so
late.
formal, Claudia.
Wait, I have a question. I raised my hand. So because I was down at the parade and I wasn't able to go up to the graduation, is there a because I know that you guys were videotaping it, is there a videotape of the graduation that I can sit with the kids and eat some popcorn and watch it for the 2 or 3 hours or whatever, however long it took?
So I believe there's a message regarding graduation. It says on the website, as you know, and maybe Brian, I don't know if you want to chime in, we experienced technical difficulties during the live stream of the class of 2020. So they were unable to recover a full recording of the ceremony. And here is a video clip of some of the graduation highlights. So if you go to the Millbrook Central, to our website and scroll down, and you'll see.
Yeah, I saw that. It was 8 minutes, but so there's no video of the 2.5 hours?
I don't know if they were able to recoup it.
So hold on a second. So there was no, so the grandparents, like the live feed, there was nothing worked. There's no videotaping for the grandparents or anybody to watch that wasn't there?
That's correct.
Go ahead.
Sure. So Elliot and Rick have been in contact with the vendor, and the vendor's equipment did not work the way it was supposed to. And that's the bottom line with that. So what we're getting from them, in addition to not paying them the full amount that was in the original quote and in the scope of work, that they are putting together, and I don't think that this 8-minute video is it. But I could be wrong. This may have been just a portion. I don't want to speak for Elliot or Rick, but this was a portion, I thought, of what they were going to be compiling based on all of the footage, because they did get several hours of footage, is my understanding, and it wasn't. It was the live streaming portion that was compromised on that.
Oh, okay. So there is something. Is there?
And I sent to.
So there was no backup plan in case something didn't work. There was nothing tested. I mean, you know, being technology. I mean, I have friends and whatnot in the technology world. I mean, there's a backup plan. There was no backup plan in place in case something didn't work, in case a wire was tripped or a kid pulled something or whatever it may be. There was nothing as backup.
My understanding was that in order for them to check and see if anything could have been repaired, they would have had to have stopped the ceremony in order to be able to pull that off and disconnect all the equipment and then put it back together. And a decision was made for that not to happen at that point.
But you guys were going to go out and take a look, or Elliot was going to go out and take a look at why, because we had this sort of the same failure at the beginning of the election, and then towards at the beginning of the vote and at the end of the vote, and then we had live streaming go out again at graduation. So is there something wrong with, our infrastructure? Is that where this is all coming from?
Yeah, no, I would say no on that aspect. There's two issues going on. The first one, Perry and Claudia, it was really an issue with YouTube. We have an account with YouTube. YouTube, for whatever reason, decided that they were not going to allow, this was for the vote. They booted us out. and said that what we were trying to do, i.e. have a school district vote, was inconsistent with their policies. And they kicked us out without any warning, despite our subscription. So actually kudos to Elliot and the technology team, because they came up with an on-the-spot solution to utilizing Twitch, because there would have been no way that we would have anticipated that YouTube with our subscription would have kicked off a central school district. And then the secondary issue was really an issue with our vendor. And we dealt with them on that. Rick and Elliot were working with the vendors on the deliverables that they gave and those that they didn't, and we'll have some version of a video, but it's not going to be a video in its entirety.
So
But
there was
separate
nobody.
issue.
So nobody there grabbed somebody's phone, stuck it on live streaming anywhere for anybody or anything. You know, I mean, to me, it's very. I mean, listen, I'm hearing this now. I didn't realize any of this. I mean, this is very disappointing, especially for, you know, some of the grandparents that, you know, they can only take one car, and now, you know, there's no ceremony for them to go back and look at, and, you know, the graduates going back to show their kids of, you know, what it was like during the pandemic. I mean, this is very, very disappointing that this happened.
Agree. Absolutely agree.
I think we really do have to make sure that there's a backup plan for the future. Test the equipment, no matter who we use, whatever it is, no matter where we are. I mean, this is very upsetting. Very upsetting. Especially after all that these kids have been through. And, you know, this is what happens. I mean, you look at all the other graduation classes. I mean, it's all over. I mean, what they did everywhere else. I mean, I'm actually this is very disappointing.
Claudia, I was on that night. I was one of the people watching. There was 155 around 10 o'clock. I watched for 3 hours. It was mostly frozen screens, mostly black. I didn't know when it was ending. So, you know, yeah, things happen, I guess.
Sort of a side issue. Did you guys, any of you guys try those? Jeff Barnes sent out the drone videos, and I forwarded it on to you, but I think it actually needed him to give permission to access it. Somebody sent me a note saying they needed permission.
I didn't get any kind of response. No one's giving me a response. So.
Yeah, I sent it to Jeff and said, can you authorize? It sounds like the board members need to be authorized. I mean, it's not, don't get me wrong, Claudia, it's not the graduation. It's like, it's actually a cool video of watching the, you know, looking down the road at the parade and all that, but it doesn't do anything for the ceremony itself. Okay. Anything else, Laura?
No, that's all I have to report. Thank you for the time.
Okay. The next is under K, under the DHIC premium. This, maybe Brian, you could give a 5-minute, it's basically a month's forgiveness or sort of on this.
Yeah, so every single year in June, based on one of Mr. Rudy's requests, we talked about why is it June, and thinking about being able to understand this a little earlier for budgeting purposes. But right now they're still looking at June. But every year in June we look at the fund balance of DHIC, and the memo that you see goes into an in-depth descriptor. But basically, if we have more than 1 month's premium plus 10%, we consider a DHIC holiday. And what a DHIC holiday consists of is it's 1 month of premium that the district is not charged for premiums, because DHIC will have chosen to use fund balance for that. So the district isn't charged, and we don't pass the charge on to the members. So anybody who belongs to a DHIC and it's a Blue Cross Blue Shield product. They also do not pay for the full month. So we shut off the deductions for employees for the premium holiday. So that's what that's about. It's basically when we have, and I've shared it with you, but not in depth. And if you'd like an in-depth version of it, I can do that at another time. But we have basically what's called a minimum premium agreement with Empire. So based on Empire's calculations, they set rates. We know, DHIC, we know that those rates are too high based on what our claims are going to be because we have all of these years of experience, but Empire still requires it. So we collect money and then it ends up coming back to us ultimately. So that's what happens. You get an accrual in your fund balance and then you figure out a mechanism to give back what you shouldn't have collected in the first place. And that's what this represents.
Very good. Any questions for Brian on that? All right, we don't need a motion. It's just for our awareness. Yeah. Okay. Let's move to consideration of an executive session. Do I have a motion to go to executive session?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Any against? All right, very good. All right, Cheryl, we need, what we're gonna do, folks, is we're gonna go to executive session for subject number 1, come back, Cheryl will shove us back over. I guess we could stay there for the second piece. Then we've got number 3 and number 4. So we'll sort of bounce back and forth, I guess. We'll figure it out as we go. All right. Okay, Cheryl.
I feel like the Starship Enterprise.
That's right. We're sending warp speed. That's about all I remember.
Look at Chris's photo. Wow.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I thought mine was good.
Perry, you're all black behind you again.
I know, and I like it.
It looks like you're about to take a photo shoot, like a modeling agency.
What would be cool is I keep telling Michelle, I need like some gray pair of hands to come up out of the black.
And what did she say to that?
Well, she pretty much says the same
Volunteered to
thing
be
she
a
always
set of
says.
hands. One
Yeah.
is that you go around your neck.
Hey.
We have a visitor. We have a
We got a
visitor.
lawyer. We got a lawyer on. We can't be talking about joking people out.
Whoops.
Yeah, behave.
Are you talking to us, Cheryl?
Cheryl.
Now I'm unmuted. Are Brian and Caroline going in? Who's coming in? I'm sorry.
Why don't we just start with the board, Laura and Alan,
Alan?
and then we'll pull Brian and Caroline in as needed.
All right, I'm putting you in for 60 minutes, so you'll let me know what you need me
Yep.
to do as you go along. Okay.
Okay.
You should see your invite.